Good morning.
Thought I was ready, but I'm not. Are you ready, Mom?
I'm recording.
Okay. We'll call the Environmental Concerns and Real Property Tax Services Committee to order.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. That would be Jean.
I think Mischief is managed.
Peter, thank you. Any comments, questions, alterations, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, Alex, you're up.
Okay. So first on
Wake
the
me when you're
agenda,
done.
is authorization of the conveyances of land offered at the public auction. So there is a resolution in here with the bid results from our auction. And so normal process is you accept them, then it goes to the board for approval before we can accept final payments from anyone and process the deeds.
So, give me the bottom line, give the committee the bottom line figure. Here it is.
Yep, down
So
at the
we
bottom.
generated just under $300,000 on $150,000 back taxes.
Correct.
Excellent. I have a piece of property for sale if you'd like to move it for me. Gene?
I'll move that.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Second? Thank you. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, next is I have some chargebacks and refunds from the treasurer's office. So that's our next resolution to approve canceling or correcting of assessments and refunds or chargebacks of taxes. Court ordered.
Somebody want to move that? Peter? Gene?
That's court ordered.
Court ordered is what they have written here on two. There's two other ones. One's Falls Housing Authority, the LaRose Building in Stitchman. Not 100% on those. Mike, maybe you know. Deb didn't put court ordered next to those, so I'm not sure what they are.
They're not a court order. I can't remember what it was about.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Take it, you want to move on it?
Yes.
Yes, Bill.
Question, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chargeback isn't something you find in the dictionary, and I've asked you this before, and I can never remember. What's refund of taxes? That it's self-explanatory.
Right.
What is a chargeback?
So we have to charge these charges basically back to, and this is like, would be the county portion. So it's a tax that gets charged back that was once paid. Probably the county made someone whole, I would assume, and then we now need to collect back.
Okay, it only explains it like a quarter, because you use the word as a part of the explanation. I guess give me an example of
The
something.
municipality, this amount, and then they pay us back.
All right. Say that again? Because there was noise.
We have to charge back to the municipalities in order to get our portion of the tax back that we paid. That we, as in the county, paid.
We made the communities whole.
Correct.
And now we send them a bill
Correct.
that they owe us.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay us
Refund, they give a refund
back.
to us.
Yes.
Okay,
They pay us back.
okay. All right, thank you.
It didn't sound like an attorney to me, Clark. That was very straightforward and plain.
I try really hard not to be candid attorney.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one is one that was brought to us by the treasurer's office as well, and it's to delete these outstanding taxes on a parcel in the town of Horicon from 2010. In 2014, this was going to be part of the tax foreclosure, except the owner came forward at that time with a copy of his canceled check and a receipt that he had paid his taxes to the town, but it was returned to the county as an unpaid. So that's why when 2014 foreclosure came around, the letter was mailed out to the individual taxpayer, and he provided that information. Back then, Mr. Swan tried to reach out to the then Horicon supervisor and try to get the situation resolved, except that never happened. So there is still an outstanding tax of $6,572.32. So we're looking to delete the taxes because the owner did come forward and did prove that he had paid back in 2014.
Mike?
As much as I hate to say this, I would like to see if we can table this right now. We're still talking with the town of Horicon about this, and I would like to get it resolved so that they agree, because they don't agree with our assertion on this. They think that they've already given us the money and we're saying you haven't. So I would like to see if we can get the Horicon and my office to agree on that.
Okay.
Before we do this, if that would be acceptable.
Somebody like to table that? Gene, you have a motion to table? Does anybody have any further question? Okay, go ahead.
So the problem is that we made the town of Horicon whole, but the taxpayer paid the taxes. That's what.
Correct.
Yes.
So it was double paid.
But there was also at the end of the year, which is where the problem comes in, they had extra funds that they collected and they gave us a check for that amount. We're saying that this particular item was not in that amount of funds, and Horicon is saying that it is. So we've got a little, I just want to iron it out before we have to do this and then have to do it again. I would just prefer that we do it once and get it right the first time.
You got your chance. Bill?
I'll second Gene's motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Claude, did you have something?
I was just going to ask if we could get an opinion from the county attorney's office, but if we're tabling it, we have time to look into that, make sure it's all,
Kosher.
yeah.
Okay. Duly noted.
And I had spoke with Supervisor Simpson, who, says he doesn't want to see anybody short on money, so I'm sure he's willing to meet with the treasurer's office and discuss it. Next is I have a resolution before you to amend the dollar amount on a resolution that just went through the board meeting. There was a clerical error in preparation of the resolution, and the wrong number was used. So I did put on here the actual dollar amount that should be used. So I just need to run that through, basically housekeeping.
So did they table that resolution at the meeting, or they pass it?
No, because it went through, I didn't have, I guess I should have gone on and reviewed the resolutions, but I didn't ahead of time to see that it was the wrong figure. So it went through last month's board meeting.
All right, so you need to...
So I'm amending
correct
Resolution 400 of 2018 to have the correct dollar amount.
it. Got it. Somebody want to move that, Gene? Second? Bill? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
Dennis, I'm going to recuse myself on that one again.
Okay.
Keep doing.
Did you get that, Molly?
Yes.
Okay. Next on here, under discussion, I have attached to your agenda, it's a loose last page at the bottom of your agenda. And also the last page of your agenda is a little parcel information sheet. And the last page after that is a colored photo from the auction flyer. This piece of property is located in, I have another one here. You guys could share these. It's a copy of a subdivision map that was done for this area as well. I discussed this prior to the foreclosure at a kind of last minute with Supervisor Dickinson, Supervisor Bramer, and Chairman Conover about pulling this piece out of the auction. As you can see in the colored photo, it is high tension lines. And really didn't think it was a good idea for us to sell that at an auction. It had sold once before and it came back because I think the people didn't do any homework and they bought it not knowing what it was. And I just thought it would be a good idea to reach out to National Grid and try to work with them. In the map that I've passed around to you guys, the highlighted area, when this subdivision was originally created, it was proposed to be conveyed or dedicated to Niagara Mohawk, and it just never happened. The subdivision got built out and everything was sold, and so basically the developer just walked away and didn't do anything with this piece of property. So it ended up being sold in a tax sale. I have reached I've reached out to a few people at National Grid. One lady that I've been dealing with mainly, her name is Helena. She's out of the Albany division, and she is working with me on this. She did have a question for me when I talked to her on Friday. She asked if there was any way, because when we do tax sales, all of our properties have an abstract of title done on them. So she asked if there was any way that the county would share that abstract of title with them so that they could continue to try to move forward to see if, you know, they truly want to actually purchase this. If they don't end up purchasing it, we could put it back through next year's auction. I'm still not really a fan of doing that. But I would really rather work with National Grid and get this really to who I think should be the rightful owner of the property. So I'm just wondering, I don't know, maybe Amy could shed light, see, can we share that abstract of title on this particular piece with them that we have done?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can take a look at it.
Okay.
Go on.
I don't see any problem sharing the abstract of title. It's just back title. They want to know what's going on, and we've already paid for the research to be done. We want to share it with them. They're going to be a willing buyer.
I think the issue is that normally the payment for the title comes out of whoever ends up buying the property.
Right, but what is it, Lexi? What's the dollar figure?
A couple $100 usually.
Yeah. Oh, to have an abstract?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we charge $225.
25.
Mhm.
But how much are they willing to buy the property for?
They would be paying, well, we had discussed this as well, that they would be paying like the closing cost on this. We wouldn't, because they already have a right-of-way over the property, so they really do not need ownership of this property, but truly, who else, I mean, this property is of no value to anybody else but National Grid. I mean, you can't go on there and build structure. You can't, I mean, if you block the right-of-way, they're going to end up moving whatever you put on there so that they can continue to use it. You know, I mean, right now it's currently assessed for $700, but I think that that's because it's 1.64 acres in the town of Queensbury. So,
I think if we can get rid of it, we'll be lucky.
yeah, I don't think we would be able to sell it. I really don't. So,
Brad?
Who owns the property across the street behind the arrow, underneath one there, because there's lot number
Sure.
39?
That was my
sure.
question.
Yep.
I mean, that's all a right-of-way that comes right across. I mean, it's...
Correct. If you were to see the big picture, I don't know, you have the color picture, you see the area where it's gold over here. This right-of-way continues way far west and way far east.
Yep.
There's two little pieces on each end, on the opposite sides of the road, that are still, they still have the right-of-way over those, but they were sold at a prior auction as well. So what happened is the neighbors under where you're talking, where the number 1 is, the neighbor to the north of that lot that is there, they bought the little piece that's right there, where the red arrow is, and on the right-hand side of the paper, that lot's a little bit bigger, but the southerly owner bought that lot at the tax sale. Because what they were trying to do is prevent kids and people using that right-of-way with four-wheelers and dirt bikes, and so they just really wanted to protect themselves by buying those pieces at a prior tax sale.
I mean, they can't do anything with it.
They
so it's
cannot.
the right away, but, and then who owns the big long stretch behind it?
We do.
No, this one over here, all the way to the left that is in
Yeah.
gold, that's National Grid actually owns that.
All right, so it would
It's a
just be
continuation of
odious
the-
of them to own what's underneath their line.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just, my thought was, why would they want to buy it if they already have a right-of-way? Because it just puts it on the tax rolls, and they have more obligations that need to pay.
Correct.
The other hand, they have the ability to control the property. Right now, they have an easement on it, they don't own it. As she said, there's a lot of people trespassing on it. If they actually own it, then they could secure it themselves.
Oh, yeah, let's get rid of it, but I don't know why they would.
Well, and that's why, when, I thought we discussed
You-
this last month,
You
at
did.
last month's committee meeting, we kind of talked about this, and I had told you then that I was working with National Grid. It's the same lady that I'm still working with. It's just to try to get National Grid to be able to answer something. They're kind of like us. They have to go through numerous meetings and all be able to agree on where they're going to come up with the finances and how they're going to be able to purchase this. And to them, like you said, for them to come up with the money and be able to purchase this, or the want to purchase it, they don't need this property because they do have a right-of-way. I'm trying my hardest to convince them that it would be best titled to them. So that's why we had talked about last month being able to just sell this to them for the closing costs. They wouldn't, so they would just be paying the recording fees. They wouldn't be paying any money for the piece of property, but they would be paying the closing costs so that we could get it back on the tax roll and be paying taxes on it. At least if they owned it, National Grid would be paying taxes on it. Right now, it's in our hands, you know,
Okay.
and nobody's, yeah, right, we're making them whole, but
So do you need anything, just, are you
I
just
just
good?
want you guys all to know that I'm still working on this. So, I mean, I know I had brought it up last month and discussed it vaguely with you, and we had talked about that, getting it out there to them and seeing if they would purchase. I had mentioned that they would not purchase, they did not feel that they had the funds to be able to purchase. So that's why I then went back to them and said, okay, how about we try to work this deal and you just pay the closing cost instead of an actual purchasing fee. And that's where we're at. I also reached out to a Bob, somebody, and I don't have his last name in front of me, who's out in Syracuse, and he's actually head of the right-of-way. So I got him back involved, and I'm still dealing with this Helena lady in Albany. And when I talked to her on Friday, that was the last thing that she had asked me, was looking to get a copy of the abstract so that that would help them go forward.
Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just refresh my memory before I ask this question. We're only talking about hundreds of dollars here. Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering, we're spending thousands of dollars between Niagara National Grid and Warren County and anyone else over a pocket change.
Correct.
Is there another alternative we can do to just say, all right,
We only
the way it is,
You only have
that's
two,
the
we
way.
either have to keep it or we have to get rid of it.
if we keep it,
Well, we don't get the taxes.
how much are we talking about in taxes? Again, we're spending a lot of time on this. How much are we actually talking about in taxes?
Maybe $100 a year.
Plus, we have some exposure there. We got kids
Right, and then you come with it in our
snowmobiling,
name.
quadding on this piece of
Wow.
property. One of them gets hurt. Guess who will be first on the list?
So that would be a concern.
Yeah.
So the $100 a year for all the money and time we're spending on this, well, time is money. That would be my issue.
Well,
Yep.
there is another possible option.
I'm gonna start it.
Not that I really want to go this route, because I know we have, in the past, there has been people that, when the property's been totally useless to us, we have conveyed it to them with their agreement, but then I have to find it somewhere in my budget to be able to come up with the money to pay the closing cost. We did do that with a piece of property up in the town of Hague. There may have been one other piece, but I'm drawing a blank, but I know in Hague we did do that. I would just rather see if we could get National Grid to pay the closing costs first.
Sure.
So-
Let them finish their due diligence.
Yeah.
See if they'll take it off our hands for the closing costs.
Good idea.
So
Hold that thought.
To the abstract, the title.
Let me know next month how we did.
Must be a slow day
Okay,
in National
I
Grid.
will. I will bring it back, definitely.
Do you have anything else?
That is all I have.
Does anybody else have anything for the board? Going once, going, once? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an environmental concern-related comment, and as many of you guys know, I've been digging into recycling and our property, but I've also kind of taken it beyond that to understand that there's no authority or authority being exercised by the county, or at least the town of Queensbury, on waste recovery, trash collection. And it appears as though there's a couple of trash collection companies in town that offer recycling. There's a few companies that don't recycle. And to me, it was quite surprising that we are allowing people to do trash collection and not do recycling. My research has shown there's probably at least a half dozen companies that are not offering recycling. To me, it was a surprise, and I'm just curious whether that's something that this committee wants to take up and pursue further.
The recycling business is in a real state of flux right now. The biggest recycler was China, by far. I think there were 80-some% of recycling was done in China. They recently quit. Said it was over, it's done. And they're not recycling anymore. So we have a tremendous amount of recyclables that are now backing up in the recycling stream. My opinion is, at some point in time, we're going to have to stop and look at our production of things that become recyclables, whether or not we can continue to do that. So I think the problem is that there's no market for them. We, at one point in time, were collecting electronics and selling them and making a good bit of money because they were taking them apart and taking the precious heavy metals out of them. That ended a year or so ago. We are now charging for electronic devices when you bring them in and drop them off, and we have trouble getting rid of them. So I don't know the answer to your question, Mike, but I know it's an issue.
But you're talking about this from a commerce standpoint, right? Can we make money versus
No, it's a
point of what's the best thing for us to be doing?
it's a
That
problem
was my
without
question.
the commerce. It's a bigger problem. The only thing you can recycle for any kind of money is cardboard. The bottles, everything else is no go. Nobody wants them. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, Warren County had a bottle recycling facility on Warren Street, and they regularly have a heap of bottles there, and then they'd be gone, and another heap. All of a sudden, the place was covered with bottles. They stopped taking bottles, and there was no place for them to go, and there were thousands of them there. We're in this similar situation now. I don't know where we're going with that. Did you have something, Tim?
When I first came on the board in '06, I was on that recycling committee with Fred Monroe. I asked Ryan to research that, and I thought, we toyed with a law back in '06 on the pickup of garbage, and I know Ryan's looking into it for us. Maybe because I know you brought it up about some companies recycling and some not, and I thought there was something to do back then about the local law enforcing it, correct?
Right. Back in, another part of this is back in 2010, the county submitted a solid waste management plan. All counties are required to do that. And as far as I've been able to see, it's still pending comment at DEC. I'm not sure why that would be. So Kevin Hajos is helping me look into that aspect, and I do have a call into Fred. I'm just waiting for a call back.
You were waiting for comment back from the law in 2006?
No, for Fred's perspective, being involved in the burn plant,
Yeah.
I want to see whether there's anything we could do from that perspective.
Okay. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Bill? Gene? All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.